my name is Emma and today I'm going to be talking about my favorite trashy YA novels. Now when I say the term trashy, I mean it in the most affectionate way possible. Trashy YA does not mean garbage YA. It doesn't mean bad YA. Trashy YA are the types of books that you think of when you think of like classic YA romance. Very entertaining, extremely addicting, always has a swoony love interest. The kind of books that help you get out of reading slumps, just like the classic YA titles. That's what I'm talking about today. So my first trashy YA novel is a classic, it's timeless, one of my faves, and that is Twilight by Stephenie Meyer. I still love Twilight, okay? Say what you will, it's still a fun story. If you have read Twilight, you probably know that this is like the definition of a trashy YA novel. It's got the love triangle, it's got the boys obsessed with a girl who believes she's unattractive, but they all think she's beautiful. Twilight is just so lovable. It's like the younger cousin that no matter how old they grow, you're still just gonna love them and look at them like a little kid like, oh, you're so cute. Like, that's how I feel about Twilight. Also, Bella, Edward, and Jacob, all absolute idiots. If a YA novel doesn't have stupid teenagers that make stupid decisions, is it really YA? But Twilight is just like a timeless fave. Like, it came to me at a really significant point in my reading experience. The love I felt for it at 13, it was just so strong, it's not something I can really ignore now. I reread Twilight in about 2014 and I had a great time. I loved Twilight Reimagined and I would definitely consider reading it again in the future. It just brings me back to this time of like teenage angst, and I don't know why that's something I want to be nostalgic about, but there's something about Twilight that just makes you want to think back to all those days of just crazy fangirling. The next series I have on here is The Selection series by Kiera Cass. This is actually one I have not finished. I haven't read the last book, The Crown, because I really consider The Selection a trilogy. Like, this is where my addicting story came from. The Air was fine and it was fun, but I'm just so much more invested in these first three books. The Selection is probably one of the first like trashy YA novels I read when coming to BookTube, and oh my goodness, were they so addicting. When I started BookTube, my reading average was probably like a book every 2 or 3 days, and it had slowed down a little bit, and then I picked up The Selection and I read like one a day. I think Kelly's Book Spill, who was a friend of mine, she like read The Selection in like one day, like all 3 books. Like, that's how addicting they are. Everyone is stupid, and it's definitely not the best book in the world, but it was so much fun. I can't tell you like how many great memories I have attached to these books just because like it was straight head-on entertainment that just kept me on my toes all the time, and it was a really fun read. If you're interested in like trashy YA novels like this that are like fully focused on just like making you have all the feels and getting you really hyped up and you're in a reading slump, I highly recommend reading The Selection because it will definitely take you out of one if this is something that's already in your interest. I love The Selection. I still love The Selection, and I'm gonna keep loving The Selection just because they were just I just think of the word fun when I think of these books. They're just fun. You see, the reason I don't make these list videos often is because every single time I forget super important books that are meant to be on that list. How could I have made a video talking about trashy YA novels without mentioning the Luck series by Jennifer L. Armentrout? I actually picked them up on audiobook because it was one of those series where I was like, you know what, I want to read them, I feel like I'll love them, but I just don't have the time to, and that's kind of how I go about a lot of my audiobook reading. And I picked up the first one and I listened to Obsidian in 3 days, which is like, it was a short audiobook, but that's like a very quick period of time for me. I flew through this series, I marathoned all of them at once, and it was such a great time. It was literally like 13-year-old Twihard Emma possessed my body and fell in love with the most Twilight similar series there has ever been. Oh my god, it was like identical. It was so much fun to recount a story just like Twilight so many years later. And I think that's the great thing about trashy YA novels, is it always transports you back to this time of like innocence where books were just all about like the swoony guy and the tension of the romance. Like, everything you could possibly have wanted when it comes to trashy YA was in the Luck series. I will admit, the series definitely declined for me. Like, the first book was so much fun, and the second one was really good, and the third one was pretty good, fourth, five, but like, overall, I loved this series so much. I'm so happy I read them. It took me years. People have been raving about these for the longest time, but I still love the Luck series. I will never be ashamed about it because people make fun of it all the time, but I do not care. care. Just when I think about the Lux series, I just think about how much fun they were, and it's impossible not to smile while talking about them. I just really loved the Lux series. Next 3 books I have on here are the Anna and the French Kiss series by Stephanie Perkins. I feel like this is part of like the modern era of YA trashy fiction, but these again are just really fun, sweet contemporaries. They're all about different love stories, and they have all of like the good kind of tension that we love to read about. This is just another series that's like so addicting. Like once you read one, you want to read more, and I believe Stephanie Perkins is actually coming out with a book maybe this year or the next year. I don't even know if it's contemporary, but I'm gonna read it because I love the Anna and the French Kiss series. Even just like looking at the covers just brings me back to a time where reading was such an enjoyable hobby for me. Like it was literally just like, I'm gonna lay in my bed for 6 hours and do nothing but read, and then I'm gonna film a video talking about how much I love them. And that was a really great point in my life, and it does still persist today, but this definitely brings me back to like the first days of BookTube when I was just picking up everything anyone would recommend to me. And I'm really happy I picked these up because of BookTube. The next 2 books I have in here are 2 separate series, but they do kind of go together. When I show you them, it'll explain why. And that is the Vampire Academy series and the Bloodlines series by Rochelle Mead. Come on, vampire fantasy romances that were written in the early 2000s. Is there really any other definition for trashy YA? I do feel that Bloodlines is a little bit more developed and a little bit more mature than Vampire Academy. Not to say Vampire Academy is bad, because this is one of my top 5 series of all time. But I feel like the themes in Bloodlines are just a little bit stronger than Vampire Academy, which makes sense because this is a sequel series and it's one of Rochelle Mead's more later works. But yeah, Vampire Academy, like itself as a series, destroyed me. Like if you have been following me since 2015, I like snapped my entire reading experience, and it was just me like crying every day. Like I got so obsessed that I literally left the shower in the middle of washing my hair because I needed to keep reading. Addictive! Vampire Academy just has like a strong hold on my heart. Every time I think about it, all I can think is how much I loved it, how many emotions I felt while reading, and how I just could not stop speeding through it. I actually read Vampire Academy in like May of 2015, and then in like August or July, I picked up the series again, and I read them so quickly. And then in the beginning of 2016, I picked up Bloodlines on audiobook, and that was another really great experience too, because it was like the world I had loved so much of Vampire Academy, but put with different characters and more intense themes, I felt, which was super awesome. I just love both of these series so much. Again, I keep using the same words like classic and timeless, but this is definitely one of those series where even if it's not like my favorite series in the entire world, in 5 years time or 10 years time, I'm still gonna have all of those memories of how much it meant to me at the moment to read them and how much love they evoked in me, and that's a really awesome thing. And so my final book on this list is actually one of my more recent reads. I read it in 2017, and I feel like it is like the highest quality trashy YA there is. And that is Heartless by Marissa Meyer. I do want to say I listened to it on audiobook, and if you need a new audiobook to listen to or to try out, I highly recommend Heartless. The audiobook narrator is fan-freaking-tastic, and it is just so much fun to listen to. But I mean, when you think about a YA retelling of The Queen of Hearts from Alice in Wonderland with all of these characters we have known since childhood, like, I don't think there was a recipe for a better YA book. Of course, our main characters are just so stupid in love and do the stupidest crap because of it. Like, it's just, oh man, it was so good. Like, it's so good that I got my mom to read Heartless, and my mom loved Heartless. Trashy YA goes across generations, man, I swear. I literally sped through this audiobook. I mean, I was listening to it during a readathon, which obviously helps me want to listen more, but it was so fun and entertaining, and like, even a step above that, it was still very complex and well developed. It makes you happy to think about, it makes you feel all gushy inside. And it also has a super powerful, like not necessarily twist ending, but things definitely go in a different direction than most trashy YA novels, which I just really loved. Heartless is so fantastic, and if you are in the mood for something along the lines of just super fun, entertaining YA, I would highly recommend picking this one up. So those are just some of my favorite trashy YA novels. Like I said, this is the most affectionate coin term I can think of for books like this that I can just group together as reads that I had so much fun reading, that were entertaining, that just gave me all the feels. And I really just wanted to make this video and talk about a few like classics of some of the beginnings of my BookTube career when I just started reading all of these YA books, to some of the themes from that time that expand into books now. So just remember that it's okay to like a book just because it's entertaining. just because you like the romance and the dialogue is funny and you're having a good time reading it. I do love reading books about sensitive, heavy subject matter, and I love reading about books that have very powerful messages, but I also like to just cuddle up and read a book like Twilight, and both things are totally cool in my opinion, depending on what kind of reader you are. Definitely in the comments of this video, let me know some of your favorite trashy YA novels, whether it's something I listed on this video or if there's one that I maybe forgot, maybe one that I need to pick up. I'm not opposed. That is it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you soon for a new one. Bye!